Good morning. Good Erev Shabbos. The fallacy of the foreskin people. The argument, the foreskin is the most sensitive part of the anatomy of the person, and taking it off is barbaric mutilation. It is inhibiting the growth of the child and the development of the child in a healthy way, and that somehow or other parents who do this to children are abusive, and they can sue their parents for child abuse. If it weren't serious, it'd be a laughing matter, because circumcision is a commandment by God specifically to the Jewish people, or the children of Abraham, including what are called the children of Keturah. And therefore, many of the Arab population circumcises their children at age 13, as Yishmael did. But in actuality, if they are from the children of Keturah, they really should circumcise at 8 days. That being said, it is a commandment in the Torah from God to Abraham. So either you accept that the Torah comes from God, or if you don't, then it's a moot point, because those who circumcise believe that it came from the Torah. Those that don't believe in the Torah at all. And so it's an argument that's never going to get anywhere. But I wish to clarify a couple of points. The people writing me state that evolution is factual, and it took 65 million years for man to develop, and billions of years since the emergence of the Earth. And I want you to understand, the basis for dating the Earth is based on certain calculations of certain scientific disciplines. Most of those disciplines actually contradict each other significantly. And even the best tools that we have, which is called radioisotopic dating, or radiometrics, such as carbon-14 and other isotopes, really are not reliable for things that are in the past, because you don't know the conditions that existed in the past. And just because you think you understand how things will function doesn't mean that they actually function that way. See, in 1962, the Rebbe, Lubavitcher Rebbe of blessed memory, wrote a letter to a scientist regarding radiometrics, radioisotopes. And the Rebbe stated there that for 3 reasons you cannot assume that radioisotopic dating will be accurate in the past, because you don't know the temperatures, the air pressures, and the presence of certain catalyzers or catalysts dealing in the environment that would sometimes impede, in effect, the breakup of the carbon-14. Carbon-14 is essentially overweight carbon. It releases 2 neutrons back into the environment every specific time. There's a half-life of approximately 1,600 years. And this is the way carbon-14 works today. But under different temperatures and pressures, and in the presence of other catalyzers or catalysts, carbon-14 may work altogether differently. And when I read this in 1964, I was a student of chemistry and some physics, and I thought that this was outrageous. How can you say that pressures and temperatures which are external would affect the stability of the nucleus? And for about 7 years, I harbored this question on one of the great rabbis and scientists of the day, the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And in 1971, a study came out from the University of Stanford in California that stated that radioisotopes alter their frequency of their decomposition, erosion, if you will, based upon different temperatures, pressures, and catalysts. It was as if the rabbi was stating prophecy, because no one certainly among my professors, no one that I had known that was in science would ever state something like that. And here was a rabbi in Brooklyn stating clearly what the conditions were under which there would be changes in radioisotopic erosion. And so this is something that cannot be used as an absolute tool to determine the age of anything that's in the past. You have a good guess, But as it goes further down the road, and you don't know the surrounding circumstances in the presence of other factors, the radioisotopic dating becomes skewed and becomes altered. You really don't know what happened then. You also don't know what kind of presence of carbon-14 existed at the time of the creation of the world, because we do believe in creation. We believe that God created the world as a completed world, not as something emerging from a gas bubble. We believe that God created the world with trees and with grasses and with animals and so on, behaving as if they had been here for a long, long time. So you really don't know what the conditions were at the time of creation. And by the way, the Torah does not really identify the moment of creation. We just assume that there are no gaps and that it's about 6,000 years or so, a little bit less than 6,000 years. But really, truly, the Torah really doesn't say the point of the moment of creation, what the basis of the time frame is. That's number one. And number two, the idea that somehow or other that God would give a commandment in the Torah that would be harmful for a person, and this could not be coming from God because God would make things perfect. It's not true. You see that the trees are beautiful and perfect as they are, yet you improve the productivity of a tree by pruning it. You improve the productivity of various types of grains and various types of fruits by altering it genetically. You improve on certain things by introducing certain genes that are beneficial for a particular species. God also gave us a brain to utilize to improve on nature. God did not make nature perfect. He made nature balanced, and the human being is balanced, but he didn't make the human being perfect. Perfection comes from the human character, from the development of the character of the person. What I'm saying is that when you do something physically that God says in the Torah, that has an effect on your emotions and on your consciousness, and ultimately changes you to a different kind of person. If you don't believe it, fine. I don't say take my position. I say think about my position. And while you're at it, study the Torah. I want you to understand something. The words in the Torah are very, very carefully written down. And there's been tremendous studies on the complexity of the exact wording and the lettering of the Torah. So much so, there's something now that has been discovered the last 30 years, actually for the last more than 60 years, that there exists something called the Torah Code, that through equal letter measurements, you have the predictions of all the things that have taken place in the past and that will take place in the future. This is something that is found in various books. I suggest that you look up Dr. Jeffrey Satinover's book on the Torah codes, and you will get yourself an eyeful and realize that the Torah is not just an ancient document by some stupid people who wanted to get rid of your pleasures in your life and take away the sexual pleasures of children. That's not what the Torah is all about. The Torah is communication between God and man, the ultimate prophecy, and it has within it all the wisdom and all of the things necessary for human character development. And when a person circumcises, that leads to great character refinement, which leads the person to coming closer